Charity of forced conversions. It's set in the 16th century, and there's a brigade of the Portuguese king and the Pope, which raids the palace of Princess Darshana Kama Katori. They're armed with a monstrous cannon and scores of firearms. But the princess, who's only 18 years old, she's brave and beautiful. She's not afraid. She fights back the Portuguese brigade with vengeance, with her ace archers, poison arrows. And even when she's trapped, Brigadier Braganza says, the king has ordered you to convert. She said, if you can fight me like a man, then I'll convert. And she kicks him, and he falls to the floor. A 6 feet 4 inch brigadier falls to the floor. She drops. She's only 5 feet 1 inch tall. She's slim, but she has so much of power in her. She fights him. The rest I can't reveal much. You can read the book.
Thank you, Mr. Pereira. We're going to come back to you after we've spoken to our guests here.
The book is written for my heart. I think one of the characters could have been me.
Which one?
Not Joseph, not Gopi.
Maybe the princess?
Well, when I started writing, the characters and the narrative kept flowing. I don't know why, and I felt compelled to write it. It was a sort of a compulsion. It was sitting somewhere inside me. That's what I felt about this book, and it was difficult to write it because it is about my own religion, and I was writing about the darkest chapter in Christianity, post-conversions. It's not easy to write about your own religion, and you'll face a lot of criticism. I think already some people don't like the topic. But among my Christian friends, there are a lot of Christian friends who agree that conversions were forced. That was not a good thing to do. And there are others who think this shouldn't be written about. But this is not about. It's not about any religion. It's not against Christianity. If you read the book, the message here is about peaceful coexistence of religion. That religions should coexist peacefully. Like in this book, there is a chapter in which the Father Francisco comes with the keys to the gates of heaven, and he says, Princess Darshana, take this. No, this is the keys to the gates of heaven. It's a golden key. It's a very nice key. So Princess Darshana says, Father, I also have the keys to the gates of heaven. Why don't you take my keys? And you also can go to heaven. Both the heavens are equally good. So why exchange keys? Why should I take your key? So, but it doesn't happen really that way. This is my imagination in the book. Then when Braganza comes and he tells Brigadier Braganza comes to Princess Darshana, he says, hello, I'm Brigadier Braganza, and I've come to show you a new heaven, and I'll give you a lot of wealth and riches. So she says, sorry, I can give the same things. So why do I need yours? So he says, and she says, thank you, Daddy, anyway, for what? Because he's like a father, her father's age. But despite being her father's age, what he does to her is shameful. And after he does that thing to her, because he's a white Christian, he wants to go and have a bath in a tub. He has a bath once a week. But because of the rape, he wants to have a bath again. So it shows the hypocrisy of religion. And if Christ is talking about love, mercy and compassion, this is not the way he wanted it. Not the way it was done. So to me, it was a very cathartic feeling. It was not easy to write.
Mr. Pereira, I'm Pradeep Gupta, I'm a critic. I just want to ask you, what inspired you to write this novel? Is it totally a fiction, or it's based on some kind of historical...
The book is fiction and fantasy, but I thought of writing it because I wanted the truth to come out. the truth about Christianity, a religion that talks about love, mercy and compassion, what it really was and even currently what it can be. There is conversion happening by inducements still, which is not written about because it's so subtle. There are subtle ways of converting now.
You know, Oswald, in fact, when I read your book last night, I realized that one of the reasons why I loved reading your book is because the sort of stuff that I like writing is where you don't know what is fiction and what is fact. And so to that, I felt that same sense, that same surge of excitement when I was reading your book, because one was clearly moving from areas which one could pretty much see that this is based on historical research. This is not just emerged from somewhere out of a hat. And at the same time, one was also getting into portions where one could clearly see that it was your imagination at play. But the fun bit is that they seem to blend together so beautifully, so seamlessly. And that is always a difficult task, because I've come across many novels which have attempted to do that, but each one tends to sort of be glaring. Each element seems to be glaring and standing almost independently. Whereas you've managed to create a wonderful cocktail. So I was truly intoxicated by that.
There's one thing which I want little clarification. This concept of a cloud, 777, 333, 999. Yeah, because it came very many times, and I thought there was something to that number. What was it? How did that come to you?
That came out of my fertile imagination. No cloud.
I wish we could sit on some cloud like this, which is like cloud 9 kind of a thing.
But the exact moment in chapter 24 when you described his recognizing her spirit being around him, and realizing his follies and asking a very subtle forgiveness, and because he knows the end is near, it's really heart-touching. When you realize when you're facing your own follies, it's one of the most beautiful moments you can come across.
Would any of the other panelists have questions for the author? Maybe we can take audience questions now. Any questions from the audience for the author? Or it can be directed to any of the panelists.
Ready?
So Mr. Oswald?
Actually, I have one more question, which is that while you were actually writing, were you at all concerned? I mean, was there any element of concern on your part in terms of what you were trying to do, or was that completely forgotten and gone to the wind at the time when you were writing, and it only re-emerged at the time when you actually ended up publishing?
No, I had when I was writing, it was flowing and I was carried away, so I didn't have any concern. After writing it, I was wondering what will happen. Maybe I'll be excommunicated. Maybe
because I must tell you, with most writers, it's that typical old raat gayi baat gayi. So you've forgotten about it by the time you finished.
Till it's in the headlines.
Till the time you hit the headlines.
No, but I'd like to add to that answer on behalf of him. I think with the newsroom mafia, I was joking with him after reading the book that a lot of it is actually reality. It wasn't fiction.
Absolutely.
And if he wasn't scared of the bhais back then, there's no reason why he should be scared of anyone now. And I guess that's the guts of a writer, to bring out... There's a very thin line, again, between fiction and reality, which he very beautifully manages to just walk.
So Mr. Pereira, what can we expect from you next? Any other books? Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't see that. Just a second.
From fact-based novel to fantasy, it was a huge leap of faith. What shall we expect next?
Next would be two books. One is a children's book, and one is a comedy of errors. So, it's a tragic comedy, a fun book.
And when you write, is it all laid out chapter by chapter in your, is it a mind map that you create? How does it come out?
But I have a rough idea of what the book is going to be. Then I go with the flow. He does more research.
No, but I must tell you that research a lot of people can do, Oswald, but the point is to be able to spin that. Like, for example, to describe a village, how it would have looked in 1545.
Right.
Or, for example, what would have been the state of, let's say, a typical domesticated individual who has been married off to a Portuguese woman of loose moral character. I mean, so you do not realize that you are actually reading hardcore research. You still feel it's part of the story. Because you've succeeded in blending it very well.
And the changing of the logo trees that keep changing.
Yeah.
Exactly. Does the plot line keep changing? Does it surprise you, the end product? That this is what you went with and this is the fun? Or, I mean, how does creativity come in?
Actually, this book I thought I would begin in the 16th century and end in the modern century. But there was so much to write in that century that it ended there. So maybe there'll be a sequel.
Sequel. Mr.